My name's Todd Michael Fickett. I'm here for arson, in prison for arson. Down here, it's like being buried alive. You're someplace alive, but you're no place anybody wants you.
Todd Fickett has just assaulted a prison officer. He's been put in an isolation cell as punishment.
My mental state will probably go downhill like it did last time. I go pretty crazy.
Todd is facing 6 months alone in his cell. He's one of an estimated 80,000 inmates across the United States in solitary confinement. Friday night in the segregation unit at the Maine State Prison. All the inmates here are in solitary confinement.
Here it is.
Almost every day, the prisoners act out against the officers who work the unit. They flood their cells. They pour bodily fluids under their doors. And they cut themselves with razor blades.
Kid! I think you passed out. Kid, I need to cuff out.
That's you might as well talk to me now, because you're going to talk to me sooner than later.
I have 3 windows covered right now, and one of them appears to be self-abusive. I'm tempted to look through the tray slot to see if I can get a visual on him, and he's got it covered with a mattress. If I can't see him from the back window, we're going to have to go in and take him out for his own safety.
Inmates are forbidden from covering their windows in the solitary unit. They could be bleeding to death, or it could be a trick to lure the officers in.
He's got it all covered. So now we have to pull him out.
All right, gents, whenever you're ready to rock and roll.
611 A2. Do you have a large box?
Get the shield door.
If I say go, rip that door open so these men can go in, okay? If I say hold, just hold it with a crack. Any questions at this time? We're ready to go and do a cell extraction.
You know you're going to come out. There's a smart way to do this. This is not it.
The officers sometimes have to use mace on inmates who won't comply.
Monsters. This is what they create in here, monsters. And then they drop you into society and tell you, go ahead, be a good boy. You can't conduct yourself like a human being when they treat you like an animal.
In the solitary unit, nights like this are routine. Officers regularly have to remove self-abusive inmates from their cells.
This place is like an insane asylum. I don't even know how many times I've seen this tier filled with blood from these guys cutting their arms and their necks and their balls, cutting their ball sacks out, all types of craziness, and it's because they're stuck in here with nothing to do.
Gordon Perry, a convicted murderer, has been here for more than a year, longer than any other inmate in the unit.
If you don't have a strong mind, this place can break you quick. A lot of guys, they don't even have reasons why, they just snap out. That's what this place does to you. It makes you mean, makes you violent, and it f***s a lot of people's heads up. This is solitary confinement.
The maximum security Maine State Prison holds around 900 inmates. It's home to the most dangerous prisoners in the state. Most of them live in general population. They're allowed out of their cells each day and can interact with other inmates. The solitary unit is the prison within the prison. Inmates here spend 23 hours a day in their cells. They get an hour of exercise in a cage. Some are here long-term because they're judged too dangerous to be around other people. Some are here for their own protection. And others are here as punishment for disruptive behavior.
I just went overboard, freaked out, started punching stuff through chairs, screaming, and I got maced and tackled. They're trying to say I started a riot, and they brought me down here. I've been down here 2 days now.
21-year-old Adam Brulot is serving a 4-year sentence for breaking someone's jaw in a fight. Now he's in segregation, or seg as the inmates call it, for starting a riot.
I like seg. I can handle being locked down 23 hours a day because I can read, I can write, I can do push-ups. Most of the time I just chill. You gotta relax. You can't get yourself wound up because you can't leave that room.
Sounds good to my standards. And I'm always at this window, so I like the window to be clean. My face touches it, my hands touch it.
Yeah, it sucks, but I think I'm doing good.
Adam faces 2 months in solitary. Todd Fickett is 1 week into his 6-month stay in the solitary unit. Last night, he cut open a vein in his arm. Officers found him passed out in his cell. Self-harm is a punishable offense. His punishment is more time in solitary.
They gave me a Class A bodily injury charge for trying to kill myself, pretty much. They're trying to punish me for bleeding. Because on that floor, they want me to suffer for it. And that's going to put me in a more detention spot, considering I already have to do enough of it as it is.
The officers say he's faking mental illness in an attempt to get moved out of solitary.
He's just trying to get what he wants. He knows he's going to spend a lot of time down in our segregation unit just for the fact that he severely assaulted one of our staff members, and he is trying to manipulate his way out of dealing with the consequences that come with assaulting a staff member.
Todd is allowed almost nothing in his cell in case he tries to cut himself again. But in solitary, there are ways of outsmarting the officers.
How come?
I got 6 others talking in my head smart aleck.
Okay.
One of the inmates has smuggled Todd a razor blade.
Can you grab a camera and come in here, please? Come on, Pickett. Why don't you take this stuff down?
I'm in there bleeding to death.
The officers can't go into his cell to give him first aid until they're sure he can't attack them. They need to handcuff him through the tray slot on his door.
Hey, Figure, do me a favor. Put that towel over there on your arm, okay? Let's just at least slow that bleeding down. Put it on your arm. Let's slow it down. I need to get medical.
Yeah, medical.
Like a lot. Now.
Hey, are you willing to cuff up? You willing to come out?
Listen, you need to cuff so I can come in and fix that.
Drink some of your blood, Figure.
Come on, Pickett.
Come on.
We're gonna help you. Right. Come on, Pickett.
We're gonna go right to the classroom. Okay?
So another day on the job.
Another day on the job. It's a real cleanup right here. We probably average about 20 of these a month, so. Yeah, last year I became an expert on blood, I guess.
It doesn't just mop up, does it?
No, it doesn't. It coagulates, and it's. Generally, I try to saturate it with a germicide, and then I use a sheet to mop it up, and then afterwards I try to scrub it down. My heart goes out to everybody down here. I've been behind these doors, so I know what it's like to stay down here for years. You know, being behind these walls, they get to everybody, and everybody deals with it in their own particular way. As you can imagine, someone being 17, 18 years old in a setting like this, you know, it's not really, it does a lot with your mind.
Adam thought he could handle solitary. Now he's not so sure.
Yeah, I got hardcore ADD and I'm about to leave in 5 months. I don't know where I'm gonna go. I don't know where I'm gonna work. I don't know how I'm gonna get a car. I still got $1,000 to pay with no car, no job. When you settle down in your room and you really just start thinking, just bang, 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 all at once. This really kind of with my head. Just trying to get some medication to slow that down for now, but.
It's lunchtime in the solitary unit.
Why are you pissed off?
They're with people's portions. Oh! Scumbag!
That's $1 million shot.
Oh, it's war.
The unrest soon escalates into a full-blown protest.
So what is all this stuff on the floor?
Probably urine and toilet paper and food.
Well, half an hour, I'm gonna let that loose be in the hallway.
What's going on?
Adams' punishment for flooding the unit will be more time in solitary. Solitary confinement began in the United States in the 1800s as a progressive experiment to see if isolation would reform criminals. It was soon largely abandoned because prisoners didn't reform. They lost their minds. But in the 1980s, solitary re-emerged as a way to stamp out prison violence. The United States now has more inmates in isolation than any other Western country.
The use of segregation has its place when you have real dangerous prisoners, but from my perspective, it is overused probably throughout the United States. It's really dangerous, okay? If I have somebody that comes in with a 5-year commitment, you can have them do their whole time in segregation, but I don't want them living next to me when you release them. The normal person, they're gonna be thinking, if you punish them, you're gonna make them better. And the reality is the exact opposite happens.
States across the country are now starting to rethink their use of segregation. 3 years ago, Maine began to send fewer inmates into solitary and moved prisoners with serious mental illness out of the unit. Now the prison's new warden is trying to take the reforms even further.
I want you out on the other side of that door, because that's good for you to be on this side of the door, not that side. And you can hold me accountable. I want you to be in there. We need to make every attempt at moving them out of those cells and moving them into general population. On the surface, it might look crazy, but the reality is 80% of these inmates are going to be hitting the street. Okay, so we can either make them worse, okay, and create more victims when they go on the street, or we can rehabilitate them.
But the warden can't simply release violent, unstable prisoners back into general population. Adams started a riot. Todd assaulted an officer. Gordon stabbed another inmate with a screwdriver. And some of the prisoners in solitary are even more dangerous.
I strangled the correctional officer and hid him under my bed, and then another one came in the pod and I knocked him out and dragged him into a utility closet and beat his head in with a mop wringer. And so I've been in prison a long time. That was when I was 16.
Peter Gibbs has been in and out of solitary for over 30 years. He wants to be transferred to a prison in his home state and has threatened to murder the warden if it doesn't happen.
I will assault, attack, stab, do whatever I have to do to get out of your facility. I will stay
in most prisons, he could expect to be stuck in solitary indefinitely.
I will kill one of your inmates. I don't have nothing to lose.
But the warden wants his team to consider moving even Peter Gibbs back to general population.
I want out of here. My children can't come see me. I'm not rich. We're not rich, you know? So they don't have the money to come here, you know?
So Mr. Gibbs, what do we need to do to get out of this hole that we're in, okay?
I need to be medicated.
Okay, and what did I say?
That makes me sociable.
Okay, I'm gonna follow that up. You can't keep on threatening to kill me. If you're threatening to kill me, I'm probably not gonna let you out of this room. And if you threaten to kill anybody, one thing about you, Mr. Gibbs, that I know is you're good for your word.
I thought it would get me back to New Hampshire. I thought, if you tell them we don't want Mr. Gibbs here, they have to take me back.
They don't have to take you back.
Then I'll homicide one of your inmates, and then you guys can do what you...
Let me finish. Is they'll make arrangements for you to go from here to another state.
Well,
New Jersey, Maryland.
No,
something like
Jersey's
that.
refused me. Rhode Island's refused me because of my mental health issues.
It seems to me that you'd like to see your wife and your two daughters.
That's
and
the most important
thing. And it seems to me
thing.
that you'd like to get back out in general population. What we're going to do...
As long as somewhere down the road we can
convince New Hampshire Mr. Gibbs is doing unreal, he's changed, and maybe take me back.
Look, what I can control is how do I move Mr. Gibbs out of the seg unit, okay?
Gibbs will have to prove he is no longer a threat before he's moved out of solitary.
You know, you start with baby steps, right?
Well, what are you looking at for like a time period? Can you start giving me some stuff in my cell maybe, like to do?
But the senior prison staff are concerned.
He's a long way from my perspective, because I have to be in that pod. Any one of us can be a general population with this guy. So I don't want to see someone die, an officer die, because we're trying to kind of get him settled as we wait for New Hampshire.
This is going to be a process.
Yep.
It's been 24 hours since Todd Fickett cut open a vein. Rather than punish him, the warden has moved him to the prison's mental health unit for the next 3 months. When that time is up, he'll have to return to solitary. But for now, he'll be treated by the prison psychologist.
So next is to figure out how you're doing and plan our next steps. So fill me in. Still don't feel very good. Can you tell me a little bit more about you feel like what does that mean?
Still want to go.
You still want to what?
Still want to kill myself.
All right. All right. So that started when? Because it's on.
Without even knowing the guy very well, I don't. I can tell you, he doesn't enjoy this. The intent isn't to engender any sympathy. The intent many times is to make an officer do things. They feel totally controlled, and this is what they learn, and it's a learned behavior, is that you can control others with this. But it is kind of a pathological way of control, because it doesn't gain them anything. Just for the briefest of time, they feel some sense of control, and then they're left stuck again, and usually in worse physical shape.
The mental health wing is a very different place from the solitary unit. Most of the inmates here have serious mental illness. Before Maine began its reforms, many of them were in solitary. But this unit is about treatment, not punishment.
It's different. It's instead of the depressing clank of the prison, trying to create something a little different. Every breath, every movement, every person, everything in there is clinical. There isn't a non-clinical thing we do. Everything is geared towards skill development, relationship building, appropriate interactions. So everything about it is becoming social. They're used to coming from environments where people hurt each other and are antisocial, and this is a whole buildup of how you relate to people, and you have to practice it every single day.
Todd will still be kept separate from other inmates, but he'll have frequent meetings with Dr. Banish.
He's just at the beginning. He's still struggling. He's still going to have to do his seg time, and he doesn't want to do it. So there's that kid side of him that just doesn't want to have to, and you can't make me kind of thing. And I'd like to help him through that process.
The warden's effort to help Todd has created a new problem back on the solitary unit. The other inmates think it isn't fair.
You guys are running out of time. I told you I'm trying to do it the easy way, but I've been down here too long to keep playing their games.
Soon. I need some cookies and milk.
Peter Gibbs is still threatening to kill prison staff and inmates, and now says he will cut himself if he doesn't get what he wants.
This is what I have to start doing. People have done stuff. They've gotten rewarded for it. I sit in my cell, I mind my own business, but there's no rewards.
Hey, Gibbs! Gordon!
Peter is not the only inmate causing trouble.
Hey, how you feeling about not getting that meeting today?
After a year in solitary, Gordon Perry is also running out of patience.
He told me the same thing. He was going to see me this week.
If I don't get some answers by 3 o'clock, I'm covering my window. And if I don't get good enough answers, they're extracting me. It'll be a miracle if I don't get extracted today.
It's unreal how they force people's hands here.
I want to give them a little bit more time because when I cover that window up, I'm serious. This ain't my first rodeo. I got a pretty good setup, and we're gonna hopefully fight the team.
Come and get me.
Now the warden and his staff have to talk down two of the most dangerous inmates on the unit.
The only way you ever get anything around here is to act up. I sit back here good for a year, ain't working. All I'm getting is smoke blowing up my ass every which way I look.
This is going to disqualify you from going to New Hampshire. If you do this kind of it's not going to happen.
Of course it's going to happen. I've seen him make deals like left and right with people for putting this up in the window.
You got a couple of assaults in 17 years. How hard is it to move me? So I gotta be out of here pretty soon.
Because of what you've done here, we're going to move you out very slowly. What I need to know is when I move you out there, are you going to be safe?
Am I gonna be safe?
I need to know that the other inmates are going to be safe as well.
It ain't happened. You guys got me down here for a year. I'm all set with the stabbings. I'm ready to go out and try to enjoy myself a little bit.
I'm willing to look at moving you along, but it's going to be a while. We got to work the process, and I'm not interested in burying you.
I'm already buried though. I already been down here a year.
I want to be maced.
I don't want to mace you, Gibbs.
I need to be maced.
You don't need to be maced.
I have to be.
No, you don't. There's no reason
If I
for this.
up, will you mace me?
No, there's no reason for any of that stuff.
You can't give me a little blast, like a little, just a
I'm
burst?
not going to give you blast, right? I understand you're frustrated.
No, you
okay?
don't understand.
I do. We had that
You have
conversation.
no clue.
Don't think it's lost on me that you're locked in a box for 23 hours
I don't
a day.
care about that. This is like being, this to me is nothing. That's what's so sad about segregation.
Yeah?
Is after years and years and years, you become retarded to it.
You're
Yeah, I'm
smarter
all
than,
up.
yeah, but you're smarter than that, Gibbs.
I'm up from it.
You're smarter than that.
Okay, so we'll evaluate it, and we'll look at moving you along. And we'll talk next week, okay? Okay. Have a good weekend.
I can't even get maced in this place.
Adam is becoming increasingly unstable.
101 roulette.
Last night, he covered his window and threatened to cut himself. Because of his behavior, his original 60 days of solitary has increased to more than 100 days.
Mr. Bullitt, how you feeling today?
Better.
That's good to hear.
All I really want to do is go to school and not go to CPOD and do my own time. Leave it in like 170 days.
Adam is anxious about life after prison. He's desperate to take his GED to give himself a chance of employment when he's released.
I want you guys to know I need to do. I need to go to school.
Okay.
And I want my GED. That's all I ask.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go out there and scram for another job selling drugs and because I don't have no education.
I told you at your door yesterday, give me a shot. Give me a chance. If I fill you full of then you do what you think you gotta do, okay? And we'll do what we gotta do. We'll do our best to get you the help you need, but I need you to do your part. You need to keep your head on, screwed on straight, okay?
I still want to try to figure out.
Todd has been in the mental health unit for a month. He's starting to open up about his family.
Why do you think I'm asking for the court to make sure I'm the father?
So if you're not?
If I'm not, I'm still gonna love my kid.
Okay.
It's my kid either way.
Okay.
And in some ways, that's noble. A lot of people wouldn't. So where's that come from? Where's this nobility come from? Keep the
It comes
250 and
from
say
the
it's
fact that I didn't have a father.
Okay.
My dad committed suicide, which the date's coming up.
Okay.
It's the 24th.
Okay, so Christmas Eve.
He's really, he's somebody who tries to elicit that he's not helpable and he's just into being a nasty guy, but I don't believe that, and I've told him that.
Do you want me to tell you, or do you want to try to figure it out?
Oh, I always want to try to figure it out. I like puzzles.
Okay,
So
you figure it out. I'll ask you on Monday.
you asked me about that, yeah.
He had gotten some goodness somewhere because he has some nice things about him that he doesn't show very often. We will see if he's willing to do the work necessary, but he's too young to throw away.
I got one for you, Kirkley, and Griffin.
Dr. Banish uses unorthodox methods to engage the inmates.
I think you're going to enjoy this.
Today, he's giving them puzzles to solve.
You see how enjoyable these guys are? I mean, they really are. They don't want to be grumpy. They don't want to be upset. They want contact that's meaningful. This is a good one. We'll see if you got that by Monday. No conferring with each other either.
You can't take it. I'm leaving in 4.5 months, but put me on the bottom of the list.
They didn't,
I'm about to freak out.
They didn't come down and it was addressed, okay? So
2 weeks have passed since Adam was told he'd be able to take his GED.
yes, they do. You're gonna be getting your GED, okay?
Well, I want to do some testing tomorrow.
Absolutely.
For snap.
You know what? That's a legitimate request. But you snapping isn't gonna get it to you. Give me a shot at trying to help you out with the GED gig.
Yeah, and it's been 2 weeks. This close.
Okay.
Just close. Believe in nothing. House of law.
You wanna come out and talk, Roulette, about all the stuff that's going on?
I will after I fight.
Adam pushes feces under the door. The punishment will be yet more time in solitary.
Well, my fault would be trying to go by the rules. I don't have too much open-mindedness for the rules in here.
And tell us why. There's always a reason, so let us know.
Obviously, because I'm a criminal and I don't like the rules that you guys have.
Besides that, we don't want to make it.
After more than a year in solitary, Gordon Perry is in a room with other prisoners. He and Adam have joined a new program being offered to inmates in the segregation unit.
All you have to do is make the choice at the time that something is presented to you. Am I gonna push poop on my window? Am I gonna
Prisoners are asked to talk honestly about how they make decisions. The weekly classes are supposed to help them become less violent.
If I show pride, I try to go like too far, and I start to get hard-headed.
Doing what everybody wants.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be so much cooler if I break this guy's eye socket.
If your pride's good, if you don't back down on people are gonna give you respect, so that's a positive of that.
All right, what's the negative with the pride?
If you're ever a bitch and people are gonna treat you like a bitch, so then you don't get no respect.
But that's no pride. Let's talk about actually having pride.
Oh, the negative of it? Coming to SMU because you gotta bang somebody out because they put you in that situation.
That program is bull. Everybody knows it. I don't even want to do this program. I just want to get out of SEG.
Do you want to change?
Change for what? What do you... Change into what? I'm here forever. There's nothing for me to I'm a criminal. I mean, I'm not going to jump on the other side or anything, so I am what I am. I think my character's pretty good overall.
You know, unless you're my enemy, is pretty good, I think. So that program has nothing for me.
You got an iPhone? That's some sick stuff.
Todd has 6 weeks left in the mental health unit before he must return to solitary. He's been allowed to call his family and even got to speak to his 2-year-old daughter.
Why wouldn't it? I love you. Yes, that's the first time I've ever spoken to her.
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel like a new guy. I kind of feel that I want to go in the right direction so I can do what I need to do. That way I can create a better future for me and my kids.
How are you going to cope with SEG this time?
Hopefully better. I'm on this nice new medication that makes me feel good.
If we go down through it, I'd like to take a look at who we would be considered.
The warden has been in the job for 6 months. He faces some tough choices.
I truly don't see him as somebody significantly mentally ill.
The longer he leaves inmates in solitary, the more disturbed they could become.
When he's completed that program, then he can go to general pop. You know, we got to jump on a discharge.
But moving them out too soon could endanger staff and other prisoners.
Warden Perry.
Now he's ready to take a risk with one of the prison's most dangerous inmates.
If he's showing that he's behaving and do what he needs to do, we're going to move him along. At some point, you got to give somebody a second chance.
All right, let's do it.
Friday.
That's the day where it's all set in stone?
I wouldn't say it's 100% set in stone. But
Oh, you already promised me it has to be. You already gave me your word.
You're
Can't go
going
back.
out. You're going out. We'll get you out.
Friday morning.
Friday morning?
Last week, Adam was let out of solitary to study for his GED. But within days, he was sent back after starting another riot. Now he's in more trouble for pushing feces out of his door again.
Yeah, my mental health diminished. Slowly but surely. It'll do it to anybody. I lasted a while. Now I just stay and then put me in the coldest cell in this whole prison as punishment. It's supposed to be like a certain, I don't know, this is America, not Russia. This is cold here.
Gordon Perry is leaving solitary. It's a reward for doing the classes and a month of good behavior in his cell. He's headed for a step-down unit for prisoners transitioning out of solitary. Inmates here are allowed out of their cells for a few hours each day and required to take more classes. If Gordon does well, he will eventually move to a unit with fewer restrictions.
You know, he's a very dangerous individual, but essentially I still believe that we can change him. Our obligation is to continue to provide him with the opportunity to change. I don't hesitate on that decision at all.
I'm just hanging out. That's what I'm doing. My realistic, honest plan is to live as good as I can in here. But it's a fantasy to think you're going to change somebody that doesn't want to change.
Time is running out for Todd Fickett. He has just 1 week left on the mental health unit. The prospect of returning to solitary is taking its toll.
I'm aggravated.
Again? Why are you aggravated?
I'm aggravated because the plan I'm on, I seem to try to follow and nobody else is following it right now.
What do you mean?
Halfway through the 50 days.
He's just found out he has even more solitary time to serve than he thought.
Yeah.
That is 50 days. You have 100 days of D time.
Yeah, we were cutting it in half to 50.
No.
So halfway
we
through
weren't.
50 was 25.
No, we weren't. It's 50 days here. And then
Yeah,
we will
50
meet
days?
then we will meet and discuss where you go from there.
How the hell am I going through 100?
Because you
That's
have
not what
100
it said
days.
before.
You have 100 days. It says half. You still have quite a bit of D time to do, and you're going to have to serve that D time.
Yeah, 15 days, 2 weeks.
No.
Don't put me back in my room. I don't need this. Go.
Listen.
No, I
No,
ain't
hang on
listening.
for a second. I would think twice about doing anything, though.
Todd, you all right? You gonna keep hitting that for a little while, or what?
Huh?
You gonna keep hitting that for a little while?
Probably end up hitting the wall soon.
Then don't do that. I can't let you do that, you know that.
I'm going to SEG anyways. They want to over my plan. Put me in damn SEG. I'll hit every cop they come through that door and I'll get maced every damn day. I don't give a
We don't want you doing that. You gonna be all right?
Put your hands out here and I'll cuff you up.
4 months ago, Adam Brulot thought he could handle solitary confinement. Now he's cut open a vein on his arm and poured blood all over himself and his cell.
Stop! No, I've been asked to go all day. I'm not gonna sleep in a cold room.
That blood is pouring out of him in the back. You need to bring him to medical bay.
This is bull. They need to stop the bull.
Immediately.
Shouldn't have to do this.
Just put him in something and bring him to medical. Red man, how do you feel?
Okay?
Put me in the
We've seen Adam Brulot deteriorate since he arrived in SEG. From someone who'd never heard himself before, he cut up very badly, put feces out of the door, did some pretty strange stuff. Was segregation the right place for a person like Adam?
Well, you just defined why we don't like to use segregation, but sometimes it's necessary. Mr. Brulot was engaged in some very, very serious behavior while he was in general population. So without a doubt, it was the right place for him.
Did he spend too long in SEG?
You know, that's a real hard question to answer. There's a lot of gray area in some of the decisions that we make. There's no exact science to any one of these guys. You have to try to figure them out as we go along. But ultimately, when we're moving him back into the general population, you know, we have to be certain that the staff are going to be safe, that the other inmates are going to be safe, and that he's going to be safe.
Before you went to SEG, did you ever imagine that you would cut yourself like that?
No. Never. I didn't even know what it was. And I seen a couple people doing it, so then I started doing it.
Do you think it's changed you forever?
I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'll try to be normal again. Just the routine every day gets to you. I've been down here 4 months. And I've gotten in trouble like 30 times. Been extracted umpteen times. It's flooded my whole room out. A couple times. Just stuff to pass the time away. And I guess they don't like that. They think I'm crazy for it. But you gotta do something.
I am moving back to SAG. This ought to be fun. Kind of excited for some reason.
Go ahead, 611.
Open Alpha 210, please, Alpha 210.
He has made a lot of progress over there. He does have his setbacks where he does make threats that he's going to do something to himself. But overall, we've gotten quite a bit of good behavior, and we haven't had any self-abusive behavior. What I'm hoping is that when he does go to spike, the coping skills that we've worked with mental health, he's going to ease up, and maybe we'll level it off, just like we've had a couple occasions over in A.
Yeah.
Mr. Fickett's case is a dilemma, but he assaulted someone very seriously. Within a correctional setting, you have to have a consequence for that somehow. Even if it doesn't benefit the inmate so much, you have a staff here. So it is a sensitive issue that has to do not only with the treatment of the inmates, but with the management of an institution and the people who work within it.
Todd faces at least 3 more months of solitary. After filming finished, Adam Brulot was moved back to general population. He was released from prison in March 2014. After 3 months in the step-down unit, Gordon Perry was caught with contraband and sent back to solitary. Within hours, he cut open a vein. Peter Gibbs is still in solitary.
Right on the edge of having a complete nervous breakdown.
There are no plans to release him. Todd Fickett lasted just 3 hours. His wounds will be stitched up. Then he'll be back in solitary.